insert awkward silence at the beginning of every live stream because the streamer never knows when the live stream exactly is going to begin, and so there's just kind of a silent hello everyone, welcome back to another live stream. It is I, the late Lord Haven, 3 minutes late. I visited my parents over the weekend and my dad called me Lord Haven. I was like, how do you know? How do you know? How has this happened? Anyway, welcome, come into the stream, flock in, you geese, come in. Let's go. We are doing the House Umber live stream. So, like all my other sort of commentary live streams, the idea here is I'm going to watch my old video. And, not old, it came out like 2 days ago. But I'm going to watch the video I uploaded and I'm going to do commentary on how I made the video and any bits of information I missed out as we go over the House of Giants, the Lords of Last Hearth, the Umbers. So, as always, like and subscribe, like the video, that helps it to spread. Subscribe if you're not already. And if you're interested in cheeky little perks, guess what? There's a Patreon. Although, weirdly enough, there's a Patreon added a free option without asking me. And so, like, I now have 40 patrons, but half of them are free members and I don't provide anything for free. And I'm like, hi. I had to do a free post being like, hi, if you're a free member, I will release announcements saying like what future video I'm going to do, but there aren't going to be any special teasers or perks beyond that, but there we go. Hold on a sec. Okay. But yeah, there we go. I'm going to wait for more people to come in before we start the video. So how are we all doing? How are we on this fine day? It's been 2 weeks. It's been two weeks since my last live stream, which was about the teaser. I think I've just been busy. December's the busiest time. So, busiest time, most expensive time. So, I have no idea what's going on. I'm doing my best. I had like 3 animated video ideas for this month, and I'm only doing 1 animated video, that being the Umber one. However, there will be 1 more video in December. And I'll tell you about it at the end of this live stream, I think. I'll reveal what it is. It'll be a big one, it'll be a good one. So, before we get started looking at my old video, thank you for the super chat from Samantha B, who says, Merry Christmas and thanks for all the Northmen content. Thank you, Samantha. Merry Christmas to you as well. The Northmen content is not ending. I'll let you know what we're doing later on, but yeah, I just thought, December, it's cold, it's wintry. If you're lucky, it's snowing. It doesn't snow here, never snows in England, which sucks. We get the cold, we don't get the snow, so we don't even get the aesthetic angle. But anyway, yes, I thought, I'm in a mood to talk about a northern house, Like in the summer, I did House Tyrell because it was all nice and warm. And it was cold when I was walking out, I was like, I want to look at some Umbers or Carstarks or something. Haven's getting more and more on time, this is worrying. Soon I'm going to be starting my live streams like half an hour too early. And you'll miss them that way. Crow food cosplay. Oh, that would be brilliant. Crow food. Oh, the design is it goes so hard. George did not need to go that hard for the Umbers, but he did. Anyway, let's begin. I think it's time we got started. Let me lower the volume. Let me know how my mic is, by the way. And I'll lower the volume for the video so it's not too loud. Also, yeah, I'll put the captions on.
The North. What is the story of the Great John, and where does their allegiance truly lie?
Here I have the classic 3 questions at the start of my video, which has become a bit of a trope now. I actually got this idea from a friend of mine who said that when he watches a certain channel, I can't remember what it is, but it's a history channel, and at the start of all their videos they do the classic how did this person become this person? Find out. And it's a nice little teaser. It's basically telling you, this is what the video's about, this is what's to come. Because so many people click off, you get most people clicking off at the very start. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed to have 20% of your viewers drop immediately. Like, within the first 10 seconds. So you need those first 10 seconds to count. So for me, I do a kind of, basically, like, some questions, like, how did the house of this become this? How did this person do this? And then it gives you a taste of what's to come, Yeah. Oh.
This is the history of House Umber.
Of course, I do all the subtitles myself. It's a bit of a painstaking process because I want to make sure it's aesthetic. I guess that it looks nice, so I pause and I add the subtitles in every few seconds. Audio sounds nice and clean. Thank you so much. Woke Haven. Yeah, that's what happened in my last live stream. Someone called me woke and left because I said I'm okay with them maybe including Rhaenyra in some battle scenes, because otherwise she sits around doing nothing in a book, and as a protagonist you need to give her stuff to do in an adaptation. And not everyone will agree. Some people will be like, no, she shouldn't be fighting. Right? The whole point of her character is that she's trying to protect herself. And there's a it is an interesting contrast with Aegon, who is the spoiled brat, who has the fortitude, he has the bravery to actually say, no, I want to go out on Dragonback and actually engage in fights, unlike Rhaenyra. So some people would disagree. But one person, it was you. No, it wasn't you. I think you called me woke as a joke, but someone else was said it deliberately and then left the live stream. There were everyone else was joking about it, but one person said it and then left. I can't remember who. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I know. That's why it's funny. It's it's not woke. It's literally just the protagonist should do more than they do in the book, because in the book, in the fake history book, you can just jump around to different areas of the map and talk about battles that happened. You don't have to worry about pacing necessarily and character arcs. Whereas for the show, they're we can't just ignore Rhaenyra and Alicent for a whole season. We need to give them more scenes. A Greyjoy history video? Yes, of course. Of course. I have a little booklet, and there's a big list of all of my future ideas. Mostly animated content. Not fully, but mostly animated content. And I'm going to go through them all, and obviously one of them is the history of House Greyjoy. How can I ignore them? But yes. Let me do that. There we go. Oh, and just before we continue, I will say any specific questions or theories or suggestions or whatever, feel free to send it in the form of a super chat. It really helps this channel, because running this channel is my job. I'm self-employed, and that kind of stuff really helps. But again, if you can't do that or you don't want to do that, at least give it a cheeky like, because that does help out. Let's continue.
Fantasy Haven for more animated content like this. And let me know in the comments, what fate awaits House Umber in the Winds of Winter? The Umbers hold Last Hearth, the largest northern...
Yes, Last Hearth, which is, the largest northern castle, but not including the Wall, right? So Castle Black and the Night Fort, Eastwatch by the Sea, Shadow Tower, all that stuff, that doesn't count. In terms of under the direct jurisdiction of House Stark and the Iron Throne and so on, Last Hearth is the northernmost castle. It's not necessarily the northernmost house, because you have the northern clansmen in the northern mountains, the Wulls and the Liddles and the Flints. So they're not the most northern house, I don't believe, but they are, in terms of not a clan but a proper lord in a castle, they are the northernmost, and they're sort of, I guess, somewhat considered perhaps more savage and backwards than some of the northern houses closer to the south of the north, such as the Manderleys. And in fact, it's rumoured that the Umbers, I don't mention this in the video, but it's rumoured that the Umbers may partake in the First Night, just because they live in a kind of northern isolated area that isn't checked up upon as much as it could be, and so there are rumours that they are practising prima nocta, essentially the Lord's right to sleep with the bride of a newly married couple, so they need permission and so on. And of course Roose Bolton, we know, practices it. Perhaps the Umbers do as well. And interestingly, I think historians say that that's now considered to be a myth. Bigger than Winterfell. Did I accidentally say Last Hearth was the biggest? Yes, the northernmost. Sorry, I didn't mean biggest, that's dumb. Of course it's not the biggest. Winterfell is huge. No, it's the northernmost castle that's not in the Night's Watch. But yeah, historians say that the First Night it probably didn't exist as a concept in old Europe. House words, ours is the umbrage, or just rah. Yeah, we don't know the house words of House Umber. In the CK3 Game of Thrones mod, they have their own words, but I can't remember what they are. That's a good point, yeah. The Reeds are also called savages, but they are the southernmost. Yeah, that's good. Well, honestly, all Northmen are kind of called savages in different ways, right? Where the Crannog men are the weird swamp people, the frog eaters. The Umbers are like super north, and while they despise the wildlings, they're probably culturally closer to the wildlings. And then the Manderleys are so, cultured and refined and prosperous, probably because they have those ties to the south. They've brought some southern culture and religion and so on from the Reach. So yeah. What I'm saying is dismiss half of what I've said in the first part of this live stream, because pretty much because half of it just isn't true.
Castle sworn to House Stark. It lies south of the Gift, east of the King's Road, west of the Bay of Seals, and north of the Last River.
Yeah, so this is their sigil. This is the all of the sigils that I use for my videos I take from the Song of Ice and Fire wiki. Now there are different interpretations of the Umber sigil. This is that one. Unfortunately, while all the sigils are represented in the wiki and they are all consistent, which is why I want to use them, they do have a kind of Microsoft Paint vibe to them. So like this isn't the best. There are other ones that have that they feel a lot more, I guess, grounded, a bit realer, a bit sort of rustic almost. This is very Microsoft Paint, but the general idea is that it's a brown-haired giant with broken chains and it's roaring, and it's a very kind of, it's a terrifying, first off it's terrifying. Imagine seeing that in battle, a roaring giant. And the Umbers themselves are considered giants. They are so huge. So I wonder if it runs in the family and they've always been massive, and so they integrated that into their sigil. Maybe they have a drop of giant's blood, they say about Hodor having a drop of giant's blood. Maybe the Umbers literally are descended from giants thousands and thousands of years ago, although that's probably a bit of a stretch, but who knows. In the show, the Umber sigil is, and also this giant isn't portrayed like the giants we see beyond the wall, right, in the Jon Snow chapters, where they're kind of like giant apes almost. They're big and hunched and furry. This is more of a traditional, like, human giant. But in the show, the Umber sigil it's just the silver chains on red. There's no giant. It's just like the crossed chains, because when they were doing season 1 and they were workshopping the sigils, I think they decided that some sigils looked better than others in the TV format, and I guess maybe they thought that the giant sigil was too complicated. Maybe there's too much going on. Perhaps it looked kind of goofy, so they just went a standard, And likewise, the show Stark sigil is just the Stark head, as opposed to the whole direwolf body, and the Lannister sigil is the Lannister head, and, it's all kind of changed up. Whether it should be or not, I don't know. I would like to see some more loyalty to the books in that regard. Why can't we have in the show a big red banner with a screaming giant on it? And of course, if this sigil is foreshadowing for the future, we'll get into that later. We'll talk about it later when we reach the Great John.
A brown-haired giant with broken silver chains.
Oh, before we continue, I keep saying that. I'll quickly turn the volume up a little bit. How did the audio sound for this video? Because the mic I'm using right now, I'm using my my Blue Snowball as always. But for this video, I tried, and my previous video, the breakdown of the season 2 House of the Dragon teaser, I did it through Voice Meter a certain way, and so it's a bit bassier, but also there are some benefits, some downsides. So what was the audio like for this video compared to my other ones? Or did you not even notice? Let me know in the chat, so I'll play it full volume.
Roaring furiously on a flame-red field. Thousands of years ago, the Umbers were one of many...
Did that sound any different? Does it sound better or worse? I'll be interested. But anyway.
The ancient First Man houses, ruling their wintry fiefdoms as petty kings.
Yeah, we see that with a lot of northern houses is that 1,000 years ago they used to be kings in their own right. So the Umbers used to be kings, the Dustins used to be the Barrow kings, the Boltons were the Red kings, and there were even the Rills, currently ruled by House Riswell, used to be the Ryder kings, but we haven't heard about them, so the implication there is perhaps they were not subjugated and reduced to vassals, but they were wiped out completely.
Until they were subjugated by the Kings of Winter, who bore the name Stark, and reduced to vassals. They have been loyal ever since. Most of ancient Umber history is lost to time.
See, at first I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do an Umber video, just because there's not that much going on with the history, right? So like House Manderley, there's a lot of history. There's them being in the Reach, the Civil War, exiled up north, what the Manderleys got up to in the Dance of the Dragons, what they got up to in the main books. There's lots going on. Whereas Umber, it's like, oh, they were kings and then they weren't kings. Like, there's not too much going on. So I thought, should I do Umber? Should I make it a short? But then I decided, actually no, screw it. I should do Umber. And it turned into a 9-minute video. And it was actually going to be longer, but I had to cut some stuff out. Because I was running out of time, right? I had to make it in time. But yeah, even the smaller houses, there's actually a surprising amount to talk about. But not as much as other ones. So something like, History of House Stark is going to be like a half-hour video or something, because there's so much to say.
Some speculate that the legendary Night's King, the tyrannical Lord Commander who enslaved the Night's Watch, may have been an Umber, but then again, he may have been a Bolton or a Flint.
Yeah, I didn't mention the Night's King in my Bolton video, and I probably should have, because it's old Nan telling Bran Stark, oh, the Night's King, he could have been a Bolton, he could have been a Flint, he may have been Umber, or perhaps he's a Stark himself. Very mysterious character. The 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, probably 13 because, classically that's the creepy number, right? And 13th floor and all that. But the Night King is a Lord Commander, and he took a pale woman with blue eyes as his wife, and many people suspect that it was an other, that he married an other. Maybe they fell in love, maybe it was forceful, maybe it was some kind of weird pact, or even a sacrifice, or we don't fully know. But he married an other, and he was the Night King, she was the Night Queen, and they ruled from the Night Fort, which is the edgy castle at the wall, which is in ruin and disarray right now. And he subjugated the members of the Night's Watch and ruled over them like a tyrant, and apparently he committed all kinds of atrocities, and he would sacrifice people to the others beyond the wall, supposedly. And then eventually he was taken down by a coalition. It was a Stark king and a king beyond the wall. I think Joramun, right? King Joramun? Yeah, and they worked together to wipe out this guy. And I think Night's King is a definite inspiration for the Night King in the show. It's not the same character, but there's something going on there. There's some kind of pact. There are a load of theories, but I didn't want to delve into it too much because this isn't a video about the Night King, but it may have been a number. That's what matters. It may have been a number.
He may have been a Bolton, or a Flint, or even a Stark, for all anyone knows. What we do know is that the northerly Umberlands have been at risk of wildling attacks.
Yeah, I agree with Flip in the chat. I think the Night King being a Stark is a bit more interesting. Like, imagine it was an Umber, that would be kind of lame,
Its lords have developed a fierce hatred towards the tribes beyond the wall. 3,000 years ago, 2 wildling kings beyond the wall launched an invasion of the north through caves beneath the wall. They were the brothers Gendel and Gorn. The wildling are...
Gendel and Gorn, the joint brothers beyond the wall. They invaded through caves, and then there was a big fight. Let me just double check something for a second. Yeah. So this was 3,000 years ago.
Army were met on the other side by the king in the north and his Umber vassals, who joined the fray. Aegon's conquest...
So again, I don't want to delve too much into some of these stories, because a lot of them are just the Umbers took part in something that a Stark king did. I can go into more detail during the House Stark animated video, but a lot of the stuff involving, dealing with the wall and wildlings, because the Umbers are so northern, of course they join it and they want to help out.
Saw Lord Torrhen Stark accept the title.
Yeah.
Who joined the fray.
So yes, I didn't tell the story of Gendel and Gorn, but we'll learn about that in a future video. Essentially, I believe the Northerners tell it as both Gendel and Gorn were slain, but I think the Wildlings tell it that one of them was slain, I think Gendel, and then Gorn fled into the caves beneath the wall, and yeah.
Aegon's conquest saw Lord Torrhen Stark accept the title Lord Paramount, and the Umbers became powerful Lords Bannerman. The Umber.
If you're wondering why all the Stark kings suspiciously look the same, it's because I'm lazy.
Powerful Lords Bannerman. The Umbers once again marched with the Starks against a wildling invasion.
I'll turn the video audio up a little bit if you want.
In 226 AC.
Yes, so, and here we have a second instance of a wildling king beyond the wall marching down and then an Umber coming to help. But this is 226 AC, so actually before we move on to this, let's go back in time a little bit. So there are a couple of things that were in my original script and even the original audio, but I cut it out because, basically I had to leave, right, to go to my parents' house on Saturday and I was running out of time. So, some of you probably know it was meant to come out on a Friday and I released it on a Saturday because I had to delay it. I was like, last minute stuff. But, yes, some interesting factoids about the Umbers before we go on. Queen Alysanne Targaryen visited Last Hearth in 58 AC, atop Silverwing, right, when she was going through the north. And when I forgot which Stark, when one of the Lord Starks granted the new gift to the Night's Watch, right? You have the Night's Watch and you have Brandon's gift, which apparently King Brandon the Builder gave to the Night's Watch. Under that you have the new gift, which Alysanne gave to the Night's Watch, give them more land, more food and so on to help them out. Now, it's possible that land was Umberland. And so perhaps Alysanne visited them to basically be like, listen, let's keep it real. You're going to have to sacrifice some of the land you own for the benefit of the Night's Watch. As well as that, there are a couple of marriages, some historical marriages, which, again, I talked about in my old audio, but I didn't have the time to fully create the art for it and animate it in a way that I would have been satisfied with. But, a couple of marriages. So, there was a Lord John Umber who married Serena Stark. Serena Stark being the daughter of Rickon Stark. Rickon Stark being the heir to Cregan Stark, right? So Lord Cregan Stark, who's going to be in House of the Dragon Season 2, he had a whole bunch of daughters and sons, and most of them died. But he was succeeded by Lord Rickon Stark, and, as I said, his daughter was Serena, who married Lord John Umber, but they did not have any issue. And when John Umber died, she went on to marry a Stark cousin of hers called Edric. So that's kind of irrelevant. However, there was another marriage, and I'm just, if you can hear clicking, I'm looking this up as I talk to remind myself. Lord Osric Umber, who married Arana Stark. So Serena was married to Jon, and then Jon died, so Serena married her Stark cousin Edric, and then they had a daughter, Arana, and Arana married Lord Osric. So the Umbers managed to get that marriage alliance in properly, which means that the line of Umber have some Stark blood in them. They've got some wolf's blood, at least from back then. But I think of all the things to cut, that wasn't the most necessary or interesting bit of information to bring up, so I kind of made that decision.
A new king beyond the wall united the wildling clans, Raymond Redbeard, who saw the degraded state of the Night's Watch and seized the moment.
Oh, okay. I'm being informed in the chat that Serena Stark did not go on to marry her cousin, she went on to marry her uncle. So that's delightful. Wonderful.
Lord Commander Jack Musgood was caught off guard by the invasion and was forever known as Sleepy Jack.
I've sort of accidentally given him a lazy eye because this was the character model.
The Night's Watch and seized the moment. Lord Commander Jack Musgood.
Basically a slightly edited version of a character I made for my POV Slayers video. No, not POV Slayers. What am I thinking? Oh, House Dane, yes. My exclusive Patreon House Dane video, I talk about Arthur Dane fighting against the Kingswood Brotherhood, and one of them was called Umber, and then Umber ended up being sent to the Night's Watch, and then in the main books he's one of the Night's Watch. He's an old brigand called Umber, and so I took his character art from that video and I adjusted it slightly, and then I wanted him to be shocked, so I got rid of the eyelids, but I didn't realise how far apart the eyes were, so it gives him this kind of like this kind of crazy look, which is kind of fun. But yeah, Sleepy Jack Musgood, considered one of the worst Lord Commanders because Raymond Redbeard and his wildling army managed to scale the wall without being spotted. Carl Karsnark says Redbeard equals Barbossa IRL. Yes, yes. I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, so in Pirates of the Caribbean, Hector Barbossa, I think that name is deliberately chosen for him. Cool. And of course you had Operation Barbossa, which was the invasion of the Soviet Union. I need to be careful what words I use actually when talking about World War II history, because I will get demonetized if I use the wrong one, because YouTube is insane. Anyway, let's continue.
And was forever known.
Yeah, you know what? I genuinely, I'm in your boat, right? I can't probably. I hate when people are talking over videos and they play it for like a couple seconds and pause it, and I'm always like, stop, let it play a little bit longer. But I'm doing the same thing. I'm just constantly like, gotta let this thing play.
Court of Longlake, King Raymond's wildlings were caught between Lord Willem Stark and Lord Harmond Umber, known to history as the Drunken Giant.
I gave him a bit of a flushed face to show that he was a drunkard.
Willem was slain and his brother Artos took revenge, and the wildlings fled.
So yeah, there's another story that I might go into more detail with when I do the history of House Stark, but again, cheeky Umber. The Umbers are helping out, they're lads. They're bros with the Starks. Anyway, let's continue pauses. Okay,
brother Artos took revenge, and the wildlings fled. Sometime later, Last Hearth was inherited by Lord Hoarfrost Umber. He had 3 sons that we know of, an unnamed heir, Mors, and Hother.
Hoarfrost is like the best name ever. I assume it's a nickname, because all of them have nicknames, right? Like Great John, Horsebane, Crowfood. But Hoarfrost might genuinely just be his name. He might just be, you know, that's him. That's Hoarfrost Umber. Oh, I love it. Anyway, yeah, we don't know anything about him outside of the fact that he is the father of these 3 sons and the grandfather of the Great John himself.
Mors was a fearsome fighter and a drunkard. One night he passed out by the side of a road, probably drunk, and a crow mistook him for a corpse. It pecked out his eye.
When I wrote this in the script, I was like, how am I going to animate this in a way that doesn't look stupid? And I couldn't think of anything, and as you can see, it's just a dumb little cartoon bird just flying in.
And a crow mistook him for a corpse. It pecked out his eye, and the enraged Mors grabbed it and tore off its head with his bare teeth. Since then he has been known as Crowfood.
Crowfood Umber. Again, George did not have to go so hard with these nicknames and these backstories and these designs, but the idea of this drunken man just passed out and a crow plucks his eye out and he just grabs it like, fuck you, and tears the head off. That's pretty cool. And then, as I go on to say, he kind of rips off Aemond Targaryen while Aemond does the old dragonglass dagger. No, dragonglass dagger. What am I talking about? Sorry, I got distracted by something on my computer, and then my brain went in 2 different directions. While Aemond does the sapphire eye, right after his eye gets cut out, Crowfood goes with obsidian dragonglass. Again, very dangerous, very painful, probably going to cause an infection, but at least it looks cool, you know? And again, he covers it up with a white leather eye patch, but like, why would you? Actually, no, it's the same thing. Why would Aemond cover up his sapphire eye with an eye patch? But it's literally like he does it because he doesn't want to scare the ladies at court. Like, he takes it off when he wants to, but when there are ladies at court, he keeps it on. So, like, Aemond's justification is literally, I don't want to scare the hoes. And maybe that's the Crowfood's justification, but
He replaced his lost eye with a chunk of dragon glass, which he also covers up with a white leather eye patch. Mors has led a sad existence.
So there's bits and pieces we know about Mors' life. He's not a super deep character, we don't know a lot about him. Yeah, shout out to me saying that he put a... I was about to say he put a dragon glass dagger in his eye socket. God damn it.
His wife died in childbirth. In 270, his only daughter was kidnapped by wildlings, leaving him with a burning hatred for the savages beyond the wall.
So, I will, whether it's tomorrow or some other day, I am going to do an Umber iceberg theory live stream, right? And I'll go into it in more detail there, but there are some theories that we know the fate of his daughter who was kidnapped. So, in A Dance with Dragons, Melisandre sends Mance Rayder to go to Winterfell and basically try and rescue Arya Stark, or rather Jane Poole, but everyone thinks it's Arya Stark. And he's in disguise as Abel the Bard, which is obviously an anagram of Bael the Bard, and he brings 6 wildling spearwives with him. And one of them is called, I think, Rowena? Or Rowan. No, one of them is called Rowan. And is a lanky one. An older lanky one. And she gets very angry at Theon, I think, for betraying the Starks. And it's uncharacteristic, because it's like, okay, why would wildlings care about a Stark being betrayed? You know, they don't care about the Starks. Right? They're wildlings. They're not interested in that stuff. So why would this tall woman, who is old enough to basically be the daughter of an old man like Crowfood, who's a wildling woman, be angry about that stuff? And then you have Crowfood outside of Winterfell, and he ends up rescuing Theon and Jane Poole. And some people theorise, oh, well, maybe Rowan, the spearwife, is Rowan Umber, and she was kidnapped and, you know, brought up by the wildlings, and she's still in contact with her father, and she's sort of helping them with all that. I don't know, it's kind of confusing, and it's kind of weird, and it's kind of like, why? Like, why is she now with them? Is she working with her father? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's more likely she's just a woman. She's just a wildling spearwife, and she's, you know, just, while she has no loyalty to the Starks necessarily, she has heard of what Theon's done, and she just doesn't like it as an individual. Yeah, his wife died in childbirth. 90% of historical female characters in the Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, if you want to get rid of a woman, just boom, childbirth.
On the wall, and in 283, his sons marched down south at the call of Lord Eddard Stark, where they died during the Battle of the Trident. Let's go back again. That
was a bit of a lazy scene. Again, this was one of the last scenes I animated. I could have had a bit. I could have had a cooler death scene for those two at the Trident, but I just was like, fuck it.
They died during the Battle of the Trident. Let's go back again to the year 250. Hoarfrost Umber believed his third son Hother had the makings of a maester.
This is quite curious that an Umber Lord would be like, you know what, you should be a maester. It feels kind of uncharacteristic, and characters within the book think so. So I believe... whoa, my screen went weird there, sorry. I think it's Jon Snow is talking about Horsebane, and thinks to himself, as part of the narrative, as part of the prose, he's like, yeah, it is kind of weird that an Umber Lord would send his son to the Citadel. But I think it's just meant to be a kind of... It's either meant to be like a kind of, well, you know, not every house is going to be stereotypical, right? Just because the Umbers are this big, fearsome, savage northern house doesn't mean that one of the lords might not be like, oh, you're a third son, you're very intelligent, I think you'd make a good scholar. Go down south and become a maester. Or it could be that because it's heavily suggested that Horsebane is gay, that his father might have been like, okay, well, I could send you to the Night's Watch, you're not going to marry any women, send you to the Night's Watch, or send you to the Citadel, or, you know, go do something else. I don't know.
A whore tried to steal from Hother, so he disemboweled them.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. We just know that this happened during his time as basically a uni student. Who of us has not, during our uni days, been robbed by a prostitute, and then we respond by gutting them with a kitchen knife?
This is a tale told only in whispers, for the prostitute was a man.
Ah, got him. You didn't see that coming. Like, I because of the way I'd written the script, I was like, okay, I don't want to animate him doing that to a male prostitute, because the way I delivered it in the audio makes it seem like it's like, haha, a bit of a twist. So I was like, I'll keep it as a woman, and then I'll do the fade effect.
Whispers for the prostitute was a man.
Into a man.
Regardless, this earned Hother the nickname Horsebane. Eventually, he abandoned his studies and returned to the Last Hearth. These two brothers would have...
And Nick commented, "You're gay, my boy, so I'm sending you to a male-only college to straighten you out." Oh no! How could you do this? No, personally, I prefer the idea that Hoarfrost was like, you're a smart man, you're a third son, do what the Southerners do, go to the Citadel, and like it's just a change of pace for the. I know that your comment kind of makes me think of what fascist Italy did, where Benito Mussolini was like, we're gonna, if anyone's openly gay, we're gonna send them to an island, we're gonna exile them to an island full of only gay men. That'll teach them a lesson. That'll punish them. What will they do now? I did not intentionally mean to give him like a moustache, like a kind of like an 80s gay moustache. I just wanted to show a passage of time between young him and then him being sent to the Citadel, but it's stylish. I do think it's stylish.
Was a man. Regardless, this earned Hother the nickname Horsebane. Eventually, he abandoned his studies and returned to the Last Hearth. These two brothers would eventually grow into, as Catelyn Stark put it, hoary old brigands.
And there they are, there are the designs, I love it. Got Hoarfrost being this, again, the large gnarled men. Hoarfrost is Horsebane has a big snowy white beard, and then Crowfood has a white leather eye patch over the dragon glass eye, and he's also got like a big snowy beard, but he's a snow leopard fur over his head. Excuse me, sorry. It looks more like a polar bear, honestly, but I think it's a snow leopard. Trust me. Hoary equals hoary. Yeah, there's a lot of the word whore is used a lot with the Umbers. There's Hoarfrost, although that's spelled H-O-R-A. H-O-A-R, and then there's Horsebane, and there's hoary old brigands, but obviously it doesn't mean hoary as in like a whore, it means hoary as in what is it? It's like rambunctious, right? Hoary is like loud, rambunctious. Oh no, it doesn't. Hoary means old, greyish white. Yeah, hoary old fellow with a white. Okay, yeah, no. So hoary old brigand is just like an old white grizzled brigand. Okay, that's cool. A rogue, if you will.
Named heir of Hoarfrost Umber had multiple sons.
Young Hother looked like a chess piece. They all kind of look like chess pieces. They're kind of designed to look like pieces
of his own, the eldest of whom succeeded him as Lord, John Umber.
Also, young Hother does sound like a rap star, an up and coming. Yo, have you heard the latest Young Hother? Boy.
Known as the Great John for his immense height.
There he is, the one and only, the Great John, the grandson of Hoarfrost.
The Great John is a fierce warrior, a mighty drinker, and a surprisingly decent singer, apparently.
That's according to Catelyn Stark. At the Red Wedding, he's bellowing out mighty songs like The Bear and the Maiden Fair, and she's like, he's quite a good singer, surprisingly. I don't think it's surprising. He looks like the kind of guy who'd be a good singer. Oh, speaking of things I left out of the video, I will bring up one more thing, because now we have delved into... what's going on with the chapters? What? The Targaryen era chapter should end here. When I start talking about the Great John, why does it end with the Red Wedding? That's stupid. Okay. I must have messed up the... I guess I must have got the timings wrong in the description with the timestamps. Oh, well, anyway... But yes, before we dive into Song of Ice and Fire, I will say one more piece of Umber lore which I cut out of this video, which is that at some point in the past, we don't know when, Last Hearth hosted a melee. And unlike in the south, melee's a sort of a more of a chill affair. At Last Hearth, 18 men died in the melee, and something like 27 were wounded. Otherwise, I think it would have been a dull affair, honestly.
Height. The Great John is a fierce warrior, a mighty drinker, and a surprisingly decent singer, apparently. As with all the Lord's Bannermen, he answers Robb Stark's call to Winterfell following the imprisonment of Lord Eddard. Hungry for the fight, the Great John demands to lead the vanguard.
Back. So, yes, the Lord's Bannermen who attend Winterfell, Robb Stark's like, call the banners.
Apparently. As with all the Lord's Banner...
So here, cheeky cameos. Who can tell me who these 3 lords are in the chat? Let me know. Who do you think? Whoever gets... If anyone gets any of them, you win a special prize. I shouldn't have promised that. I can't deliver. You get my eternal gratitude. How about that? Who are they? Let me know. I just thought I'd grind the entire live stream to a halt for this meme. Yes! Minnie has got the first one. Roose Bolton. That's the chap in the middle. Check out the history of House Bolton if you haven't already. Yep, Caden's got it in one. Karstark, Bolton, Hornwood, but you didn't say his first name, you just said the name of his house. Who is he? Rickard Karstark and Hallis Hornwood by Crossfire said that. Middle one is Walder Frey's husband. That's how we know him. I love the Roose animation. So yeah, the Roose animation. Thanks for saying that, by the way, in the chat. With Roose, I tried to keep him very still, right? So he'll move short and quickly, but I try not to have him like doing the whole sway side to side. When he jumps, sometimes when the characters jump up, they do a little wobble where they'll jump up and down and kind of go. Brr. I don't do that with Roose. I prefer it to just be like he shoots straight up. And then I try to convey that kind of blank, cold, sociopathic face he's got, you know. So I gave him the half closed eyes, slightly going over the small, pale pupils, where he's just kind of like you can't read him. And yes, we have Rickard Karstark here because we have the White Sun, and Hallis Hornwood, who goes on to die at the very start of the war. This Roose looks like an emo teenager. How dare you, sir? Are you telling me Roose isn't an emo teenager? It kind of is.
He answers Robb Stark's call to Winterfell following the imprisonment of Lord Eddard. Hungry for the fight, the Great John demands to lead the vanguard of the northern host, mocking Robb for his youth and threatening to march home if refused. After daring to touch his greatsword...
This scene is presented brilliantly in the show, right, where the guy who plays the Great John stands up, he's like, I will not take orders from a boy so young and so greedy, pisses grass. I loved his performance, loved his voice. Rest in peace to Great John in the show, actually. Shall we use this moment to talk about show Great John? What happened there? So he's in season 1, right? And then he vanishes. I heard rumours that he wasn't brought back because he got in a fight or something. Like, he got in a fight and his ear was bitten off. And that's why he wasn't in season 2, but like... He couldn't be in season 2 because he had his ear bitten off? Like, that looks badass. They could easily write that off. And even if he couldn't, let's say he was in hospital and the scheduling didn't work out. He's not in season 3 either. You could have brought him back when he's like, oh, I've been fighting in the Westerlands, lad. I've been fighting in the Westerlands. A Lannister bastard tore my ear off, but I'm here. And then you have him in the Red Wedding, or even kill him off in the Red Wedding, right? To have another Northern Lord get slain. Give him a cool moment. But instead he just vanishes and they never bring him back. They don't even recast him. And then in season 6, we see the Small John, who joins Ramsay. The Small John, also an incredible actor, like super tall. He's got the face, he's got the beard, he's got the accent. I thought he was great. I wasn't a fan of what he did, right? I would have liked to see book Small John, but in the show he's fine. But he comes up and he's like, your father's a cunt. My father's a cunt. They're both dead. And it's like, oh, I guess he's dead. I guess he just died. Yeah, and then in the show, the Small John fights for Robb Stark. Not Robb Stark. What am I talking about? Fights for Ramsay, and he enters the charge on foot with the infantry, and he gets killed by Tormund. Right? Tormund bites his neck and then stabs him with a dagger. Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah, I'm gonna look up the actor because I don't want to be bullshitting. I could just be making this up. It's just his vague memories. Give me something behind the scenes. There we go. Okay, well this says it was revealed that the guy who plays him. Oh, it doesn't say his name. That's not helpful. Tell me. I feel like it's Clive. I feel like his name's Clive. Clive Mantle. Oh shit, I'm right. Yes, Clive Mantle. In 2012, it was revealed that Clive Mantle was not able to return for the second season due to a scheduling clash. Okay, well that's completely different to me saying his ear got bit off. Where did I get that from? Where did I get that from? What am I talking about? Hold on. Clive Mantle ear. Okay, Clive Mantle had part of his ear bitten off in an incident in a Newcastle hotel corridor. Two men were... Okay. They clashed with him in a late night row over noise. Okay, when was this? Okay, so okay, I don't think this is actually related to him not being on the show. I think he just also had his ear bitten off, and that's just something that happened. Okay, that's kind of cool. And he even bites someone's ear off in the books in the Red Wedding. The Great John bites off Sir Leslin Hay's ear. So that's kind of... Tell me we don't live in a simulation where the actor who's playing a character who bites off someone's ear at the Red Wedding gets his ear bitten off. Anyway, that's not the reason he couldn't be in season 2. It's scheduling. He was not asked to return for the third season either, so it looks like he couldn't do the second season because of scheduling conflicts, but then he wasn't asked to come back for season 3. So I guess Benioff and Weiss were like, I don't know, the audience aren't going to remember who he is, so whatever. It's like, I don't know, you couldn't have brought him back. You couldn't have brought him back. Oh, that's lame. Most of his scenes given to Brynden Tully. Ugh. I don't know. That's he was so good in the show. There stands the only king I mean to bend my knee to. The king in the north. Oh, destroy my mic. Let's continue.
The cocky lord loses his fingers to Greywind, and sees this as a sign of Robb's strength, so respects his wishes. When the northern host marches southwards and makes camp at Moat Cailin, the Umbers station themselves at the Children's Tower. Robb Stark gives command of his infantry to Lord Bolton instead of the Greyjohn, preferring Roos's more cautious approach. Someone also commented on the video, I can't remember who, but I respect them for this because I put a lot of effort into the art in terms of specifically what characters are wearing and when, what they look like and so on. So I don't just go, okay, Roose Bolton art and then write it. I'm like, okay, what is he specifically described as wearing? Chainmail during War of the Five Kings with the pink cloak with blood drops on it. Okay, I'll do that. So, for example, Robb Stark, when the War of the Five Kings is, in its opening stages, even before he's named king, he grows out stubble, right? He grows out a bit of a beard, and then in the Clash of Kings, he's growing this red beard. But then in A Storm of Swords, after the whole, Crag incident, Jane Westling, he shaves it off, and he's back to being clean shaven. And someone in the comments noted that, and I was like, that's right, yeah, I'm putting some effort in. I know what I'm doing most of the time. Sometimes, occasionally, I know what I'm doing. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but every now and then I luck out. Preferring Roos's more cautious approach. When the northern host splits at the twins, so too do the Greatjon and his heir, the Small John. The Greatjon, perhaps the more controversial part of this video. So too do the Greatjon and his heir. The Small John is slightly smaller than the Greatjon. Well, I think they're meant to be the same height. Right? Like, they're meant to be the same height, but the Small John is, still growing and might be taller than his father, which adds in a fun bit of irony, the whole Small John, but he's bigger. A bit like Little Walder Frey being little because he's younger, but being larger. Right? No, not younger, but born... Oh, I can't remember. Yes, younger, but being larger. The Small John. The Greatjon fights at the Battle of the Camps, setting fire to Lannister siege towers outside of Riverrun, while the Small John joins Robb's personal battle guard and fight. A video about Robb's personal battle guard could be fun, because apparently he had about 30 noble-born warriors fighting for him. Excuse me. We don't know of all of them, but we know a lot. In fact, I'll get a list up. A lot of them end up dying in a Red Wedding. Excuse me. Yes, so here are the members of his personal guard. Lucas Blackwood, who gets killed at the Red Wedding by Hostine Frey. Robin Flint, who gets stabbed at the Red Wedding. Theon Greyjoy, who obviously betrays him. Darren Hornwood, who dies at the Whispering Wood.
Eddard Karstark and Torrhen Karstark, who are killed by Jaime at the Whispering Wood. Donal Locke, who's killed at the Red Wedding. Patrick Mallister, who's captured at the Red Wedding. Wendell Manderley, who's shot at the Red Wedding. Daisy Mormont, who's killed by Ryman Frey with big axe. Owen Norrie, who's killed at the Red Wedding. Small John, who, as we know in this video, goes on to be beheaded at the Red Wedding. And Reynold Westerling. And some Freys as well. So, fun collection of basically like the sons and brothers, I guess, of Northern Lords, but also River Lords.
With him at the Battle of the Whispering Wood. After the death.
Why doesn't Robb have a Kingsguard? Southern tradition? I guess, yeah. I mean, the whole... there are 7 members of a Kingsguard because it's supposed to echo the obsession with the number 7. You know, Sept, Faith of the 7, 7 gods. So it's like, 7 gods, 7 guards. And so I think in the north he didn't have a Kingsguard. They were like, he just got... Also, this was like a battle guard. This wasn't necessarily a sworn order designed to serve him specifically. This was like people with him on the battlefield to protect him because he's the king.
Death of Eddard Stark, a war council is held in the Great Hall of Riverrun. The Great John insults Devron Frey for his cautious advice and rejects Catelyn Stark's calls for peace, instead proclaiming
Can we have a look at the way I pronounce the word cautious for a second?
Calls for peace. The Great John insults Devron Frey for his cautious advice. The cautious advice. And rejects Catelyn Stark's calls for peace.
You didn't notice anything.
Peace, instead proclaiming Robb Stark as king in the north, setting the future of the War of the Five Kings in motion.
I kind of forgot that when I did my research. I was like, oh yeah, the Great John's the one who arguably, like, he's the one who's like king in the north, and then everyone goes along with it, and then Robb doesn't really have a choice. It's like, how that's a what-if scenario for you. How different would the War of the Five Kings be if the Great John didn't pronounce Robb king of the north? Right? Because the thing is, he's not just king of the north. They don't really touch upon this in the show, but he's the king of the north and the Trident. Like, he's fighting to rule over an independent north and Riverlands. Maybe if he weren't doing that, if he wasn't the king, he might just be like, screw it, I'm leaving, I'm going back up to Winterfell, we're well protected, good luck invading us and getting through the neck. We're just going to chill here and break away from the crown, screw you.
Meanwhile, the elderly Crowfood and Horsebane remain at Last Hearth as its joint castellans, although they do attend the harvest feast at Winterfell hosted by Bran Stark.
Maester Luwin cameo.
Along with others such as Lord Wyman Manderley, Mors wishes to marry...
I usually portray Wyman as being like huge, right? Like a big fat man. And it felt weird making him so small, but it's to make the Umbers look bigger, you know?
Danella Hornwood, the recently widowed lady of the Hornwood lands. Arthur, meanwhile, complains that his nephew took so many men down south that they don't have enough.
Someone commented, why does Catelyn look so young? Honestly, it's because my Catelyn and Robb character models are very old. They're like early 2023, you know. They're some of my old videos from my Red Wedding video. And I just, because I wanted to get this video done for December, and there's so much going on because of Christmas, and I just didn't have time to do lots of stuff, so I was like, I don't have time to redesign them. I don't have the energy for that. But I do want to eventually redesign specifically Catelyn, because she is my weirdest looking character in this video. She doesn't quite fit, and she doesn't really look like Catelyn outside of, you know, having blue eyes and auburn hair, you know.
For the harvest, and also asks for ships to defend Last Hearth from wildling raiders, slipping past Eastwatch by the sea. The brothers bristle when ordered to work with Wyman Manderley in building ships, with Mors calling him a waddling sack of suet, but they behave nonetheless. Down south, the Great John fights in the Battle of Oxcross, and goes on to raid the Westerlands, seizing gold mines at Castamere, Nuns Deep, and Pendrick Hills.
This is the joy of the A Song of Ice and Fire wiki. If you need, like, the extra little details that you just don't remember or are like one-off lines in the books, the wiki will tell you.
Loyal Small John stays with Robb Stark. He and Blackwalder Frey...
Oh yeah, people are saying Catelyn's not that old. I guess it's less age and more just redesigning her, like, generally. Like, I'm just not happy with her design. I do want to give her a slight line under her eyes. But also, I guess her design's not that bad. I don't know, it's just kind of off.
Scale the walls of the crag, the seat of House Westerling, and help to capture it. The taking of the crag, of course, eventually leads to Robb's downfall, and he breaks his pact with the Freys to marry Jane Westerling. Sir Ryman...
I love how he's why is he wearing his crown in bed? Also, yeah, I kind of glossed over it, but this was weirdly fun to animate. It's just the small John and Blackwater storming the crag. I wonder what the conversation was.
Of the crag.
I feel like it was awkward silence. I bet it was Blackwater just being angry and seething and like mumbling to himself, and the small John being like, "So, big family, huh? What's that like?" And just dead silence.
Sir Ryman Frey furiously marches his army back to the twins, and the equally furious Greatjon suggests attacking them, but Robb refuses. Lord Umber then takes a more diplomatic approach, proposing marriage alliances between his widowed uncles and the Freys.
Lucky Freys. Lucky Roslyn, lucky Fairwarder. It's like, don't worry, we've sorted it out. We're friendly with the Starks again. We've got a little... You have to marry an 80-year-old gay man with a big beard who once killed a prostitute. So are you happy with that? Good, cool, let's go. What about you, Fairwarder? Yeah, well, you've got to marry another, 80-year-old man. He's missing an eye. He's about 8 foot. So, Robb Stark... What, the handsome Robb Stark? No, he's with Jane Westerling. No, you're marrying an old Umber. You know that old Lord Umber? You're marrying his uncle. Yeah. No, it's fine.
Robb secures a different pact, a marriage between Edmure Tully and Roslyn Frey. With the Frey's support, he plans to retake Moat Cailin from the Ironborn to reclaim the North. The Greatjon would finally be given command of the vanguard. I
really love the vibes of this Moat Cailin background. Well, that's not Moat Cailin, that's the Children's Tower specifically. I don't have the main fort, but I like the colours I used here. It feels like I got it's like,
to create a diversionary attack from the south. This plan never comes to pass. The Umbers attend the wedding of the twins. While the Small John stays sober, his father gets drunk, singing...
Of course, a lot of this stuff was animated in my Red Wedding video, but I animated it all from scratch because that used old versions of the characters. These are more detailed than they used to be.
Loudly and carries poor Roslyn to the bedchamber during the bedding ceremony. Lame Lothar Frey, the architect of the Red Wedding, assigned 3 men with getting the Greatjon drunk: Peter Pimple, Merritt, and Sir Waylon Frey. All fail in this task.
People said they like that bit. This bit is directly copied from my Red Wedding video. Again, it's not exactly the same because I animated it from scratch, but I had the character model of Merritt Frey with his face down, and I was like, oh yes, let me do that bit again.
All fail in this task. When the Red Wedding begins, it takes 8 men to subdue the Greatjon, but not before he kills one and wounds 2 with a stolen sword.
So I love the idea that... excuse me. I love the idea that of all the Freys, Lothar Frey was like, okay, the incompetent ones, right, the fat alcoholic and the young wimpy Peter, get the Greatjon drunk. That's literally all we have to do. Get him drunk so he passes out and then he won't be able to fight us during the Red Wedding. And the Greatjon drinks them under the table. And he drinks enough to kill several oxen or some shit, and he just rises up and goes get off me. And like I said there, he kills a couple of Freys. Not Frey soldiers, not actual blood Freys, because we don't hear about any being killed by the Greatjon. But he kills a couple of soldiers, and he wounds a bunch. And he bites, I don't mention it in this, but he bites the ear off of Sir Leslin Hay as well.
Drunk. Peter Pimple, Merritt, and Sir Waylon Frey. All fail in this task. When the Red Wedding begins, it takes 8 men to subdue the Greatjon, but not before he kills one and wounds 2 with a stolen sword. The Small John throws a table over Robb.
So yeah, I get a little bit lazy with throwing a table over Robb. This was the last draft of the video. I had to release it that day, and I was like, I'm not going to animate him throwing a table over Robb. I'm just going to have him awkwardly shove Robb under the table.
With a stolen sword. The Small John throws a table over Robb to protect him. He himself is sent to his knees by a bolt and beheaded by a man in shaggy furs.
Rest in peace.
Bolton or a Karstark. The Greatjon is subdued.
See, I think I've mentioned this before in an old live stream. But you know how you're reading something as complex as Game of Thrones, and there's an exciting thing happening, and you're reading so fast you're almost skimming, and you get some things mixed up. So one of my classic ones, I talked about this with Quinn the GM on our Schema live stream, is that like I misread Pycelle's beard being cut off as like his dick being cut off, and it's only when I watched the show that I realised, oh, the beard, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like kind of, I don't know what happened there, but the same thing happened when I read the Red Wedding. The bit when like the doors open and there are like men in shaggy furs, and Catelyn has a moment of hope because she's like, oh, you know, because basically it's like, oh, it's shaggy furs, there must be Northmen, but then they're probably Boltons or Karstarks, right? They're traitors who are. But for some reason, I read it when I was skimming and reading it for the first time. It was really exciting. I read it as like the door opens, Ryman Frey walks through with an axe, and there were Ironborn behind him. And I don't know how I read that. I don't know what I interpreted to get that in my head. But I remember reading that and being like, oh shit, even the Ironborn are involved? What the hell? And it's never brought up again. And then when I like reread it, I was like, oh yeah, there are no... why would there be Ironborn at the Red Wedding? How did I even read that, you know?
And held captive at the Twins. After Roose Bolton becomes Warden of the North, Horsebane begrudgingly swears allegiance to the Flayed Men, fearing for the life of his nephew in Frey captivity. He feasts at the Dread Fort with Ramsay Bolton and Arnulf Karstark.
Okay, so speaking of rushing this video, oh my god, I was literally watching it like, I'm fully done, the video's completed, I'm going to watch it through one more time, make sure there are no errors, and then I'm going to export it. And I got to this bit.
With Ramsay Bolton and Arnulf Karstark.
Ramsay Bolton and Arnulf Karstark, and I was like, Arnulf Karstark is not in this shot, and I haven't drawn him yet. In fact, I don't have any Karstarks apart from one, and I was like, I do not have time to draw Arnulf Karstark from scratch, so I was just like, fuck it. And like the audio was said in a way where I couldn't cut out the last bit without it sounding weird.
At the Dread Fort with Ramsay Bolton and Arnulf Karstark.
So I'm just kind of like, yeah, with Arnulf, who's not here, you know, why not?
Of Karstark, and later marches his men south to join the siege of Moat Cailin. After this, Hother travels to Winterfell to attend the wedding between Ramsay and Jane Poole disguised as Arya Stark.
I swear to God, I've done so many videos that involve this wedding. The phrase Jane Poole disguised as Arya Stark is seared into my brain. Like, I did the History of House Frey, right, where I talk about this. I did the Red Wedding 2.0 Frey Civil War thing on Quinn's channel, where I think I brought this up because I talk about the Boltons. I did the Red Wedding video itself where I talk about this as the aftermath. I did the History of House Bolton where I also talk about this. So there are so many times when I'm like, Jane Poole disguises Arya Stark, aka Jane Poole. I've said it so many times, it's like, oh, I've had enough. Those are some crazy eyes on Ramsay. Yes, this is like an old design, right? A lot of these are new, but this is an old one. I kept the Boltons because I didn't want to change them. So a lot of my redesigns just involve giving the characters larger eyes, but just look better. But I've kept them. I've deliberately given them like those weird, small, pale eyes. Different levels of pale. See, Roose's is described as being slightly darker than milk, and then I think Ramsay's is slightly darker than Roose's. But I've given him that kind of red face to indicate rage, and also to portray that like his gross, splotchy skin. And he's got the garnet ear piercing that's like a blood drop. And he's just got kind of batshit eyes and uncouth appearance, messy hair. But even so, I still haven't really captured the essence of Ramsay. You know, it's like a Funko Pop. You need the mouth to capture Ramsay. You need the gross, like large, wet, worm-like lips to complete the grotesque serial killer appearance of Ramsay. And my characters don't have mouths. Although back in the day, people used to comment and they thought the noses were mouths, somehow. Like in Rick and Morty, where like, their mouths kind of flop down in submission. It's kind of, they thought they were like floppy mouths or something.
Though he despises the Freys for killing his kin, there is little he can do.
Frey cameo. You better believe I have almost every single Frey drawn, because every Frey explained is coming. It's coming. Okay, so yes, these are the two Freys who are at the Winterfell wedding. There's Hostine Frey, who's so stupid, the big, strong, angry brute. And then this is Aenys Frey, also known as Aenys Frey, who's a cruel, intelligent man.
In his kin, there is little he can do. His brother Crowfood, however, is one of the few Northerners swearing fealty to King Stannis Baratheon, on 3 conditions.
This is also a very old... This is an ancient Stannis art. You can probably tell that this just looks weird compared to my other art. This was another case of, I don't have the time or energy to do another Stannis art. So like the sigil on his chest looks dumb. His jawline is like too angular. He hasn't got much colour to his face. His eyes are too small. It's just kind of weird looking. I'll change him in the future.
1. That Stannis sends him the skull of Manta Raider for use as a cup. 2.
Again, speaking of audio, can we appreciate the way I said cup there?
As a cup. 2.
Cup. Sounds cool. Anyway, yes, he wanted Manta Raider's skull as a cup, because he hates wildlings, obviously.
That Stannis pardons Hother after crushing the Boltons. And 3. That Umber will not be made to fight Umber in battle.
Yeah. Umber will not be made to fight Umber. So Stannis agrees if there's a big battle going on and you're on like whatever flank Horsebane and his men are on, you'll be on the opposite flank so you don't have to fight them.
Stannis agrees to these demands. The House of Umber is split. Most of their army perished down south. Crowfood commands Green Boys, while Horsebane oversees grizzled greybeards. Mors camps outside Winterfell during the blizzard, having his men dig pit traps and blow horns to cause confusion. He draws out Bolton and Frey troops, some of whom fall into the traps, including Sir Aenys Frey, who breaks his neck.
So just to clarify, this is Winds of Winter stuff. So according to the... And again, so it's not technically canon, right? It's like semi-canon. According to... I think it's the Theon Winds of Winter sample chapter. It's they talk about the pits and the fact that Aenys Frey fell in the pit.
Traps, including Aenys Frey, who breaks his neck.
Yeah, and his neck breaks. And the idea being that Aenys Frey is the smart tactician and Hostine is more of a dumb brute. And so Hostine, being in charge of the Frey forces, gives Stannis that advantage he needs in the upcoming Battle of Ice.
Who breaks his neck.
So shout out to Crowfood Umber for killing one of the nasty Freys. Oh.
Mors also uses the opportunity to capture the fleeing Theon Greyjoy and Jane Poole.
Speaking of art, I'm very proud of my Reek dressed up as Theon for the wedding. I mean, look, this man has seen some shit, you know. Plane going overhead, forgive me. You know, the usual, it's a new batch of prisoners for Guantanamo. It's a bit late to be delivering them, but I guess it's never too late to send terrorists in. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I live in Guantanamo Bay. That's where I'm based. It's where I'm based, and I am also based. 2 separate things.
Sending them both to the Crofters village where Stannis is encamped.
So I didn't mention this, but before he sends them, and again this is sample chapter stuff, before he sends them, he basically like interrogates Jane Poole to make sure she is Arya Stark. He's like, tell me about the layout of Winterfell, tell me about the maids who used to work there, blah blah blah, like to make sure that it's not an imposter. And Jane Poole knows because it's Jane Poole, so she says it, and so everyone genuinely does think it's Arya Stark.
So what does the future hold? If Horsebane does not betray the Boltons...
This is a cool image, if I do say so myself. I hope you enjoy half this live stream, being me pausing going, wow, what a cool video I made. But yes, interesting to see what's going to go down, because maybe Horsebane is planning to betray the Boltons and that all the Northern Lords are basically going to rise up against Rooty Boy. But maybe he is genuinely like, look, the Great John is locked up, he could be killed if we don't comply, or, and he's not going to betray the Boltons, and then when Stannis, but let's be honest, when Stannis takes Winterfell, the Horsebane will be punished and he'll be given the Red God treatment. He'll be sent to the Red God. But to be fair, even if Crowfood is dead, which I talk about a bit later, well, right after this, even if Crowfood is dead, he did promise Crowfood that he was going to pardon Hother. So even though he's not alive to keep that promise to him, right, he could still be like, yeah, sure, I gotta keep the promise I made to his dead brother. So he's probably safe. He's probably safe, right, if he doesn't die in some other crazy way within the walls of Winterfell. It could. Some people theorize that like, the both Umbers are actually pro Stannis. It's just they were like, look, we can't both join Stannis because then the Great John will be killed. So if you join Stannis but I don't, that way you go fight, and then I will feign my loyalty, and that way we get to do our part in separate different ways. We get to do our part in trying to help the Stark restoration and to take down the Boltons, and our nephew doesn't get executed.
He may be executed by Stannis when he takes Winterfell. Crowfoot may be a dead man walking. This fragment of an Asher chapter...
Well, the music's getting intense. It's like, whoa!
For the Winds of Winter...
So yes, the Asher chapter, in that picture, there have been a few Reddit threads where they've taken that and it's like zoom and enhance, tried to clarify what exactly it says. So let me do a nice reading. And while we're paused, I will quickly say, the stream's probably going to wrap up relatively soon. Not straight away, but just because we're nearing the end of the video and I want to answer questions. But if you want to support the channel and send in questions or have me say things out loud or whatever, feel free to send in super chats. This is my job and it really helps support the channel. Let's go. Ahem. The spear was something with a pale wood, almost white. Something along its upper shaft had something dark and red. Crowfoot Umber, Asher knew. The old Northman had fought to his death, it seemed. So, again, semi-canon, could be changed already. We're not fucking getting wins, so who cares? But anyway, it looks like, because Crowfoot was camped outside of Winterfell with a bunch of green boys digging pits and blowing horns to piss them off. It could be the Boltons and Freys and so on. They all came out and they basically massacred them, and Crowfoot fought to the death. But he died being able to save Theon and Jane Paul. And so the Freys are now carrying his head on a spike. You're like, yeah, that's it. We got him.
Appears to detail the Crowfoot head atop a weirwood spike, carried by Frey soldiers. The Great John himself...
Now that is like a heavy metal album cover.
The Great John himself...
Wait, got that. There we go.
Soldiers.
That should be the true cover to Winds of Winter. Not the horn, not the chunk of obsidian. It should be this. Crowfoot's head on a spike, on a weirwood spike.
The Great John himself may be imprisoned in the Twins, but Sir Jaime Lannister demands that Walder Frey's hostages be transferred to the Crown. The Riverlands is a dangerous place, and what would happen if the Brotherhood without banners evoked the Umber sigil and freed the giant from his chains?
Yes, so going back to what I was talking about earlier, people think the giant under chains could be some fun foreshadowing, maybe intentional, maybe it's not, but the Great John and a lot of the captive Northmen and Rivermen, they're going to be transferred from the Twins to King's Landing, but then the Brotherhood will free them and they will break free, and that will basically mean that the lords up north can receive their family again and can rally behind Stannis or whoever's in Winterfell or whatever, without worrying about their relatives being killed. And perhaps these freed lords will join the Brotherhood and perhaps take part in a second Red Wedding or engage in some anti-Frey activity, I don't know. But I represented the Brotherhood by having Lady Stoneheart. So actually, we were talking about Catelyn's art earlier. Where's the cheeky Catelyn? Where's she gone? Where's the MILF? There she is. So there's Catelyn. You can see there's a there she is. It's directly modelled on her. It's got the same nose and jawline and so on, but of course it's got the white hair and the green bloated face and the scars from where she tore at her face after Rob's death, and I gave her red eyes, I think, to kind of symbolise the resurrection with fire magic. Thank you for the super chat from Caden Cumming, which is a funny surname because it has the word "come" in it, who says, I look forward to my Lord of Light cameo. Now, Caden is being a shill for me. He's my slave. Wait, no, actually, I'm his slave. So he's a Lord of Light patron. Lord of Light patrons, as well as several other things that I could ramble about for ages, like Discord access and exclusive videos and special art commissions and live streams and all that kind of stuff. He gets his art commission to cameo in my animated videos. So in the background of my Blackfire videos, you can probably spot some interesting little art cameos, and they are characters I designed for my highest tier patrons. And I'm just realising now, reading your comment, that I completely forgot to include any Lord of Light cameos in this video. So apologies to all my Lord of Light patrons. You will be in the next animated video, I promise. Shit. Oh well. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Caden.
Giant from his chains. As for the rest of this family living at Last Hearth, when the long night comes and the others begin their march, we may see the fall of the House of Umber.
A little ending, capping it off with a little Edgar Allan Poe reference. Part of me thought Fall of the House of Umber would just be a great title, right? The spin on Fall of the House of Usher. But then I was like, wait, no, I can't really call it that, right? Because it's not really, the house isn't really falling. You know, the Lord's imprisoned and his heir is dead, but like he's not really a fool. So I inserted it into the script nonetheless.
To learn about another northern house, check out...
I always have the little song at the end. Oh, another little tip. I've probably mentioned this before, but I'll bring it up again. If you're doing YouTube, it's good to have a direct transition into an end card. So it's like, if you like this video, check out this specifically. Or, you know, this is a northern video, so here's a Bolton one. Or blah, blah, blah. Some people say that what you should do is just have one video at the end. Like, ignore all of these things. Excuse me. Just have, like, one big screen that's just a link to the next video, being like, watch this next. But I want to throw in some variety. That's my most successful one, the Bolton one. It just out of nowhere, that one just blew up. I guess because they're in the show, right? So Umbers aren't as prominent in the show, so the houses that are more show heavy tend to do better with views. But it's all about building up. In fact, someone said earlier in this live stream, they said, "Are you planning on expanding beyond the Song of Ice and Fire?" And I am. 2024 will be the year of the Haven, my friend. The Chinese New Year, the year of the Haven. We're still gonna do a Song of Ice and Fire. So there's gonna be fun live streams. There's gonna be animated lore about Valyrian steel and different houses, and you know, Lannisters, Starks, great houses, small houses. There'll be shorts, all that stuff. House of the Dragon videos too. I'm gonna review it. I'm gonna do live streams for season 2. I'm gonna do predictions. Probably collaborative content. You know, I'm going to do book versus show animated stuff. But I went on for too long. Hear me out. Don't leave. No, don't leave. Come back. But there's more. Because there's some fantasy stuff come out next year, and I want to ride the wave. I want to branch out. So we've got a Percy Jackson show coming out next year, early next year. Maybe I should do some videos about the lore of Percy Jackson, basically talking about, you know, the Greek gods and how they have translated to America within the books. Avatar: The Last Airbender is coming out. I can do some animated videos about the history of the nation, so the history of the Fire Nation, the animated history of the Air Nomads, of the Earth Kingdom, of the Water Tribe, the Southern and Northern Water Tribes. Dune is coming out as well, part 2, and I'm still working through the audiobook, so some people are really asking for Dune content, history of different houses, right? Harkonnen, Atreides, other stuff. I don't know. I've only listened to a third of it, so I don't know enough about the lore. But that stuff, right? What do we think? What do we think about all that fun stuff? New fantasy stuff coming out. Making videos about it. Elder Scrolls lore, people have suggested. Witcher lore is an obvious one. Tolkien lore, I don't know enough about Tolkien. I'd have to dive into that properly. Wheel of Time, Stormlight Archive. I have not dived into the Wheel of Time. I know nothing about the Wheel of Time. I've got a good friend who is obsessed with Wheel of Time. They know everything. They've read all of it. That's their go-to. I don't know. I'd have to dive into it. There's a lot of content, a lot of books, so I'm excited. But yeah, I need to get back into reading, or audiobooks and stuff. A Stormlight Archive. I haven't read any Sanderson. I'm looking forward to it. And when I do, yes, of course, it's Fantasy Haven. It's not a Song of Ice and Fire Haven. So this channel will always be rooted in a Song of Ice and Fire. That will always be the heart of it. But I am gonna branch out, because when you have those animated history channels, they don't just focus on one era. They look at different eras. And who knows? Maybe if I feel like I'm going insane, I can start a couple more channels. I'm thinking about History Haven. What if I did some historical haven, some historical videos in this style? What about Myth Haven, where I look at historical myths specifically, like the Greek gods, the Roman gods, old legends and stuff, and I just kind of talk about how they went down in a fun animated format. Oh, there's so much to do. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know. Lord Haven sandworms. How would I draw a sandworm? God, how would I even do that? Warhammer? Oh yes, Warhammer Fantasy. I don't know anything about Warhammer Fantasy lore. I only got into 40k like early this year, in terms of the lore. So classic fantasy or Age of Sigmar or whatever. That's also stuff I've got to dive into. Some lore's static in a way, Song of Ice and Fire isn't. See, that's the thing. There are some things I can explore where I probably wouldn't have many videos done within it. So like Avatar: The Last Airbender, there aren't that many videos to make, right? So it's not like I can just produce hundreds of videos about it, like a Song of Ice and Fire. I could probably do like up to 10 maybe about the lore, even after stretching it. And my worry is with trying new stuff is that people come along and they're like, oh, you did an Avatar: The Last Airbender video. I'm going to subscribe because I'm a fan of Avatar. And then I don't do any more and I do other fantasy and they're like, eh. But I feel like there's got to be crossover with fantasy fans, right? If you like A Song of Ice and Fire, you might watch some content on Witcher or other stuff, Elder Scrolls. I don't want my channel to solidly just be stuck as a purely Song of Ice and Fire channel. But I also, when I do transition, I want it to be good. I don't want to lose audience members. I don't want to gain audience members that then don't stick around because they don't know what the channel is and blah blah blah. Anarchy versus Dance with the Dragons comparison as a warm-up to Season 2 of House of the Dragon. I mean, you're a patron and you're on the patron Discord, and I'm pretty sure I've said that, so Flippy, you're doing the equivalent of reading the end of the book and then being like, oh yeah, I think this is going to happen. No spoilers. No spoilers. Yeah, no, that is a plan. As well as book versus show, I do want to do a comparison between the Dance of the Dragons and the English Anarchy. There's that famous TEDx animated video, which is like, War of the Roses, the war that inspired Game of Thrones. I want to do something similar, which is the Anarchy, and how that inspired the Dance of the Dragons. Malazan and the First Law trilogy. Yes, I've heard of all of these, and they're on my list. I have a list. I have a bunch of books I haven't read, so Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I want to get through that. I've read a bit of the first book. I've even got old ones like The Black Company that are really hard to get. All kinds of stuff. Song of Ice and Fire lore and theories are running on fumes. The thing theories are, yes, at this point I think, because Wins isn't coming out, like, there's no... there have been so many speaking of wins, right, a load of YouTubers have second wins and third wins and fourth wins when you have Game of Thrones and how it ended and House of the Dragon and all these things that bring people to a Song of Ice and Fire content. And the kind of Westeros cinematic universe that HBO is creating is going to keep, producing content, producing views, getting people making videos about it. But without Winds of Winter coming out, yeah, it is going to be tough. But the thing is, my channel is it's more about presenting things in a fun way, right? So it's like, yeah, you've heard of, let's say, the Battle of Ice, the Night Lamp theory before, but I'm not here to tell you about a theory you've heard about. I'm here to show you that theory animated and simplified. I'm not here to tell you about House Stark because you already know about them. I'm here to give you a fun animated portrayal of House Stark, right? Like, so I think my channel has something a little bit different that other channels don't. Other channels are kind of the slideshow channels that just talk about stuff. I don't know, they don't have much longevity, whereas with mine it's like you come in here for the fun animations and to see how the characters are drawn and stuff like that. Witcher Blood Origin versus book lore. I haven't watched Blood Origin, I'm too scared. That being said, book versus show for The Witcher, you better believe that's happening. You better believe it. Probably in time for season 4. Oh no, I should do it earlier actually. Okay, bye Carl, have fun. I'm probably going to wrap up too. Thank you for telling everyone to like and subscribe and acting like you're a mod of mine. Just to clarify, I have no mods, so the people who are telling you to subscribe and like in the chat, they're just doing it because they want to, and I'm very grateful. I have my army, a Haven army. I'm not big enough to need mods, yet. Once I get like David Lightbringer levels, then I might need to start getting mods. For the sake of growth, you should branch out because most people won't give what they see as being the same thing and go. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that the key to the future of the channel is branching out and animating fantasy stuff in my style. That is the future. Yeah, if I just stick to Song of Ice and Fire, it will inevitably just kind of fizzle out at some point. And this is what I want to do in my life to an extent. So I gotta branch out. And I also want to use this platform to develop an awesome community and an awesome audience. And then, in the future, maybe I'll write some fantasy books of my own, and then boom. Would you like some fantasy books? The Haven Archive. No. Anyway, the Haven Horde. I love that. Shall I say that at the start of my videos? I should be like, what's up, Haven Horde? Welcome to my video. Ugh. Alright, I'm going to wrap up now. I'm currently recording audio for my next video, which I said I was going to reveal at the end of this. Let me go. It's the final CK3 Every House Explained video. We've done Dawn, we've done the Stormlands, we've done everything. This Friday I'm going to release every Northern House Explained. Every single house in the North. In the Crusader Kings 3 Game of Thrones mod, I'm going to go through all of it. I'm currently recording the audio for that. I interrupted myself to do this live stream, which I kind of forgot about, and now I have to go back to it with a dead throat, and I'll try and get that done quickly so I can make my dinner. So, yeah. I guess I'll see you all later. I don't want to finish because people are given lots of really cool suggestions for like books I should look at. Witcher Books versus Show, Sirens of the Deep. Yeah, that's, Witcher short stories that they didn't adapt. Elric of Melniboné, yeah, classic. Eternal Champion lore. The Haven Harem. Shall I call you the Haven Horde or the Haven Harem? One of them will not get me demonetized, but the other one's funnier. Haven cards. Oh, imagine I sold like Haven card. No, anyway, I'm getting distracted. See ya, love you.